First of all, I would like to say touch the neck to all of you. So today I'm going to talk about the Dhamma Day. So before saying this, generally Lord Shakyamuni Buddha is the most excellent being or most perfect being who is free from all the obscurations and faults and sufferings and their propensities, and the one who has all the ultimate qualities such as ultimate loving kindness, ultimate compassion, ultimate wisdom, ultimate power, and all the other ultimate qualities. So Lord Shakyamuni Buddha has performed many great activities in order to lead the sentient beings from suffering and dissatisfaction to temporary and ultimate happiness. Among all the noble activities, the greatest activity is the activity of speech or activity of turning the wheel of Dharma. So when Shakyamuni attained the Buddhahood in Bodh Gaya, and after that he said, now he has found a nectar-like teaching, but no one will understand such precious and profound teaching, so therefore he will not teach what he has realized. And then the powerful worldly gods like Indra and Brahma, they offered 1,000-spoke golden wheel and white conch shell and supplicate to Buddha Shakyamuni to turn the wheel of Dharma. So then at that time he also saw there are some fortunate disciples who are worthy to receive his teachings. So then he accepted their supplications and then went to Deer Park, Saranath Varanasi, and he gave the first Dharma teaching, or he turned the first wheel of Dharma to 5 fortunate disciples. And this topic of the teaching is on the Four Noble Truths. And then from there on, Buddha Shakyamuni gave enormous amount of teachings in order to suit the different mentalities of the followers. The purpose of giving teaching is to lead the sentient beings to gain temporary result, which is to gain the liberation from the whole samsara, and then eventually to place them on the state of ultimate result, which is to place them on the state of Buddhahood. So with such purpose, Buddha has given infinite teachings. So from our side, from the disciple side, we also need to have the right purpose of receiving teachings. Dharma teaching is not an ordinary topic. This topic is not just for our present life. This topic is profound and precious because it is not only for this life, but it will help us to gain happiness or good results life after life, and eventually it will help us to gain the perfect result or the ultimate result or the ultimate happiness, which is the state of Buddhahood. So, therefore, we also need the right intention, and also we need the right perception to receive the teaching. So normally we should think Lord Buddha is like a skillful doctor, and Buddha's teaching is like a medicine, and ourself is like a patient, and our own negative thoughts like ignorance, anger, attachment, hatred, pride, stinginess, jealousy, and other thoughts are like our own sickness. And then receiving the teaching and following the teaching is like receiving the doctor's advice and following the advice. So with such perception, we should follow the Buddha's teaching. And also, we need the right intention, which is not just to gain worldly results or not just to gain results that are within this present life. So, therefore, we must have the right intention. Buddha's purpose of giving teaching is to lead sentient beings to gain liberation and enlightenment state. So, like this, we also need to have the intention to gain liberation and eventually to attain the Buddhahood. So, with such purpose, we should receive the teaching. And today's topic is on Four Noble Truths. And first, why it is called noble? Noble means extraordinary being. It's not a worldly being, which means a person who has already realized the true nature of all the phenomena directly, and the person who has already gained the liberation from the whole samsara by abandoning all the cause of the samsara, which is none other than afflicted emotions and negative karmas. So, noble being means a being who has already gained the liberation. So there are different types of noble beings. Actually, there are 4 types of noble beings, like Sharavaka Buddha, Prateka Buddha, and noble bodhisattvas who are residing on the first bhumi up to 10th bhumi, and then Buddha is also considered as a noble being. So there are 4 types of noble beings, and all of them have realized the 4 noble truths. So here noble means noble beings. From their perspective, they have realized these truths, and once they have realized this truth, then it cannot be argued by any other opponents. It is certain, there's no mistake, there's no misunderstanding, and it will never change. The truth or the reality will never change. So once they have realized this truth will remain as it is forever, which means no one can argue, no one can change their view, no one can change this reality. So remain doesn't mean it is permanent, but what I mean is something that cannot be changed. The reality will remain as it is realized by the four noble types of beings. So therefore it's called a noble truth. And noble truth also has 4 kinds. Actually, all the Buddha's teaching are based on law of karma. And the law of karma can be combined into the 4 noble truths. Or the base of all these law of karma is the 4 noble truths, which are known as the truth of suffering, the truth of origin, the truth of cessation, and the truth of path. And why there's only 4, not 3 or not 5 or more? Because 4 is certain. You don't need more or less. So in the 4 noble truths, first 2 are the cause and effect of the samsara. And the next 2 are the cause and effect of liberation or the nirvana. So actually we need to know what is to be adopted and what is to be abandoned, and what we need to adopt is liberation. What we need to abandon is samsara, which means we need to abandon the sufferings. So samsara is full of suffering. Samsara is in the nature of suffering. And samsara has cause and effect. The effect is the result of suffering, the truth of suffering, and it is caused by the truth of origin. So these 2 are cause and effect of the samsara. And then what we need to adopt is the liberation. And liberation also has 2, cause and effect. Cause means the method that can lead us to gain the liberation. And the result is truth of cessation, which means free of suffering, free from the suffering of samsara. So therefore, all the cause and effect can be combined into these 4 noble truths. Or anyway, the cause and effect of samsara and cause and effect of nirvana is in the 4 noble truths. And what is the order of these Four Noble Truths? The first one is the truth of suffering. The second one is the truth of origin. Third one is the truth of cessation. And then the fourth one is the truth of path. Actually, the great Maitreya, the future Buddha, said in his text called Uttara Tantra that, for example, when we are not well, first, when we see a doctor, the doctor needs to diagnose what is this problem, what is this sickness. Without knowing the sickness, the doctor cannot cure, doctor cannot do any treatment, doctor cannot remove the cause of sickness. So first, the doctor needs to know the sickness. And after knowing the sickness, then the doctor can find a way to eliminate or to abandon the cause of sickness. And to eliminate the cause of sickness and the result sickness, and to gain the state of happiness, which is free from sickness, or to gain a state that is free from sickness, is called the truth of cessation. Or here, in the example, it is the happiness which is free from sickness. And to gain this, we need the method. And the method to gain happiness that is free from sickness is to do the treatment, is to take the medicine, and is to take the advice or to follow the advice of the doctor. So first we need to know the sickness. Second, we need to have the wish, or we need to abandon the cause of sickness. And then third, we wish to gain the happiness that is free from sickness. And fourth, to achieve this, we need to rely on method, we need to rely on treatment, we need to rely on medicine, and we need to rely on doctors' advice. So, as this is the order of this example, similarly, in the meaning also, so knowing the sickness is like knowing the suffering as it is. It is important to know the suffering as it is. Without knowing it, then we will not have to wish to remove the suffering and the cause of suffering. So, by knowing the suffering as it is, then it will help us to know there's no meaning, there's no real purpose in having a great attachment in the worldly object or to the worldly objects. So, therefore, it will help us to generate the thought of renunciation. And also, when we know the suffering, when we recognize the suffering as it is, it will help us to avoid the cause of suffering. It will help us to avoid to do negative actions. And also it will help us to do more and more positive actions, which are the antidote to remove the suffering and its cause. So therefore, it is important to know the suffering as it is. And after knowing it, then we need to and we will have the wish to abandon. Without removing the cause of suffering, we cannot remove the suffering. For example, if we wish to remove a poisonous tree from our area, then we need to dig out and eradicate the root of the tree. If we just cut the branches of the tree, by cutting the branches, we cannot remove the tree. Also, it can grow again, and also the tree itself is there. So, if we remove the root of the tree, then it means we remove the tree completely. So, similarly, to remove the suffering, we need to remove the root of the suffering or the cause of suffering, which is the truth of origin. And then third is the truth of cessation, because when we have the wish to remove the root of the suffering, and also when we have the wish to gain a state which is free from suffering and its cause, but to have the result, first we need to know it is possible to gain this result. So, to show that the truth of cessation is explained in the third. And then finally, Buddha explains about the truth of path, because without this truth, we cannot gain this cessation. Because without medicine, we cannot cure. Without treatment, we cannot cure. Similarly, without the truth of path, we cannot gain the truth of cessation. So, therefore, Buddha has given these Four Noble Truths in such order. So, truth of suffering means physical suffering and mental suffering. Actually, we are based on these five aggregates, and based on this, then we have the suffering. Our aggregates are caused by our own negative karma and emotions or negative thoughts. So, what I want to say is, not all the aggregates that appear are not caused by negative actions and emotions. For example, Buddha's physical form is free from all these karma and afflicted emotions. But Buddha appears in the form of Prince Siddhartha and later on as a Buddha Shakyamuni in order to help, in order to lead the sentient beings. So what I'm saying here is our ordinary aggregates are caused by negative actions and thoughts. So based on this aggregate, we have the suffering of birth, suffering of old age, suffering of sickness, and suffering of death. And also we have many other suffering of not fulfilling our wishes, and suffering of meeting unfavorable conditions, etc. So all these sufferings are known as the suffering of suffering, and also there are other types of suffering. So these sufferings are known as the truth of suffering. And then the truth of origin, which has two parts. There are actions and afflictive emotions. Action has like positive actions and negative actions, and afflictive emotions like ignorance, desire, anger, and other thoughts. So due to these actions and afflictive emotions, we do many activities, and due to these, we are caught up in the samsara. Due to this, we experience many different kinds of sufferings, not only in this life, but from beginningless time until now. And if we don't remove these action or karma and afflictive emotion, then we will experience more and more sufferings in our future lives. So, in short, the truth of origin means the cause of suffering, which is none other than karma and afflictive emotions, or sometimes we call it defilements. Or in English, people use many different terms on this Tibetan word called nyomongpa or nyomong. Anyway, the third truth is the truth of cessation. So, cessation means to cease all these suffering and the cause of suffering, and to gain the state of happiness which is free from all these. For example, when doctor recognized the cause of sickness, then removing the cause of sickness and the state which is already removed, which already remove all these cause, is called a state that is free from the cause, right? So similarly, cessation means a state that is free from the cause of suffering. And when it is free from cause of suffering, then it also means it's free from the suffering itself. And then fourth noble truth is the truth of path. Even though we know it is possible to cease the karma or the action and mental afflictive emotions, but if you don't know the method, if you don't know the right remedy, if you don't know the right antidote, then we cannot achieve the result. We cannot achieve or we cannot gain the truth of cessation. So based on which to gain the truth of cessation, then we should try to find out what are the right remedies to overcome these negatives. So when we analyze it, then we will find the right remedy is the truth of path. Truth of path means the wisdom that realizes the selflessness. So that is the right remedy, because all the sufferings and all these negative actions are caused by our own negative thoughts. And the root of all these negative thoughts is our own self-clinging thought, or the self-cherishing thought, or selfish thought. Unless and until we remove this selfish thought, we won't be able to remove the suffering, and we won't be able to gain liberation from the samsara. So, to remove this selfish thought or self-clinging thought, we need to gain the opposite of it. The opposite of it is wisdom that realizes the selflessness. At the moment, we as an ordinary human being, we can study on selflessness. We can understand the meaning of selflessness. But that kind of wisdom is the wisdom that we gain through listening or study. But just gaining the wisdom through study and listening will not be able to remove. So based on our wisdom that we gain through listening and study, then on top of this, we need to gain the wisdom through contemplation. And finally, we need to gain the wisdom through meditation. And through this wisdom of meditation, then eventually we will be able to gain the wisdom that realizes the selflessness directly. And that is the time that we gain the path of seeing. And that is the time that we gain the first bhumi. And that is the time that we become a noble bodhisattva or noble being. And that is the time that we gain liberation from the whole samsara. And that is the time that we really gain the truth of cessation. So, truth of cessation not necessarily means the ultimate result or the Buddhahood. Ceasing the suffering of samsara can also call the truth of cessation. So I think all these Four Noble Truths have realized all these Four Noble kinds of beings have realized the Four Noble Truths, and because of that, all of them have gained the liberation from the whole samsara. So with this, I conclude my short talk on the Four Noble Truths. And I also like to say that generally we have to be careful, we have to avoid the negative actions as much as we can, and we have to perform good deeds or positive actions as much as possible, and especially on special occasions like Dhammachakra Day. On these special occasions, if whatever we do can be multiplied into thousands and thousands or million times. So therefore, especially on those special occasions, we have to be more careful and try to do more and more virtuous deeds, or try to do more and more Dharma practice, and try to avoid all the negative actions. So, as I said, whatever we do on special occasions can be multiplied, whether it's good or bad, it can be multiplied. So we have to be extra careful on these special occasions. So with that, I will conclude my short talk, and finally, I sincerely wish with blessings of our Guru, Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha be with you now and always. Thank you.